reads, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods." And he asks a very important question in the third verse. He says, "Who shall ascend unto the hill of the Lord, or who shall stand in his holy place?" What he's really asking in verse number 3 is, who can have access to the presence of God? Who can find entrance into the glory of God, into the presence of God, the Shekinah glory? And he answers that question in verse number 4, and I'd like to read it for you. It says, "He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, he," in other words, the man who hasn't done those things, "shall receive the blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation." He refers to the blessing in this verse number 5. The blessing that he's referring to is what he started off asking the question about in verse number 3. He says, "Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place?" The blessing of the Lord is access to the presence of God on your life on a continual basis, on a daily basis. It's not a one-time thing at salvation. It's not a thing that we can only have at certain times. We can live in the presence of God. We can walk in the Spirit of God, and we can find that blessing on our lives if we'll do what the psalmist is telling us to do in Psalm 24. He says, if you have clean hands and a pure heart, prerequisites for the presence of God, prerequisites for the glory of God on your life, prerequisites for the blessing of God are living a life of purity, are living a life of sanctification, set apart unto God, set apart from the world, and living with a pure heart unto the Lord. And that, the psalmist tells us, makes you a candidate for the blessing of God on your life. When we think of the blessing of God, we think of finances, we think of abundance, we think of prosperity financially, material goods and things of that nature, and it is definitely all of those things. But the blessing is